What's up, everyone? It is Lovelee Elaine with Let's Talk and Mommy Missy with Life Uncensored. We're here today to bring you a show not only to celebrate Black History Month, but to also celebrate unity. How are you doing today, Missy?
I'm doing good. I feel like it must be a full moon or something because I'm trying to share this to my normal places that I share it, and it is just not going well today for some reason.
That's okay. Take your time. Take your time. If it is, I don't know if it is a full moon. Chime in if it's a full moon tonight. Let us know. I don't know.
Even with my makeup, though, have you ever done your makeup and just been like? And I was telling Melissa backstage that it was one of those things where a decision was made, you were just going to go with it. And the decision was made, and it was too late. And I didn't have a chance to redo it going along with, my whole makeup today. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that.
That's okay. I usually come on here looking a crazy hot mess, but today I figured since we're celebrating, Black History Month and all of that, that I had a reason to get dressed. So, yeah. Even though I should just get dressed for myself, but yeah, I've been busy. It's been crazy. So I know that we have a special guest, right? And she's actually someone that you know, correct?
This is my actually first time meeting her, but I just found out backstage before the show that her niece is a good friend of mine since we were 6, and her and her niece is one of the only people that I trusted to babysit my twins for the longest time.
That's so funny.
Yes.
That's so funny. It's a small world. Racing is small, so everybody kind of is connected in some way with one another.
I feel like, yes. I definitely feel that's I tell people Racine is like Reno, the smallest the biggest little city around. So
for sure. Well, as we're talking today, I really would like to just encourage all of our guests for you guys to chime in with me and Missy. Let us know how you feel or don't feel in regards to what we're talking about. If we offend anybody by what we're talking about, I want to apologize ahead of time, but everybody has their own opinions when it comes to a lot of things. It's just, it's going to be a little bit of a touchy show. So, stay tuned and let's see how everything goes.
I too, I agree. And please just be respectful with people's opinions. Sometimes it comes out not what it's meant. So don't hold anyone to their life's, work because they made a comment that came out in a way that it was not meant to be.
And be careful what you say.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's pull Melissa up. Hello.
Everybody.
Hey.
So glad that I'm able to join you guys this evening.
That's awesome. I'm really glad too.
Yes, I am very happy. Which is also a strange thing that the person that gave me her name and contact is her little brother is like a little brother to me. I mean, he has done some very gross things to me. And if you know him, that's just the type of kid he is. He's never in any malice of his actions. He just doesn't realize that it could be gross. But I've known him since he's been like 11. So Elaine is looking like, oh, she's logging.
No, I'm trying to log in so I'm able to help with you with the comments and everything. So.
Oh my gosh, so many comments. Okay, so
yes, I have them pulled up. I'm like, oh, okay, this is nice.
My husband.
Hey to everybody that's on the comments, and also to all my family friends that are hopping on for this evening. I know, so I'm just kind of chiming in here if you guys don't mind, just talking. But I know that this topic is something that I'm passionate about, and so I've asked them join. see how things go. It's very informal. I guess like an informal conversations. We're gonna like share. It can be based off our personal experiences, or if we've like been involved, whether it's advocacy or in research or whatnot. So I'm excited for
I have to say,
tonight.
I did pull up Nina's comment. Yay! It's so funny, Nina.
You say with advocacy, do you consider yourself an advocate?
Yes, very much.
Awesome.
Not just necessarily, I'm more of like an advocate of like social justice. So it doesn't have to be just Black Lives Matter. I'm very passionate about like youth, and then like just other things that like I touch on is just generally like social injustice in general. Like I can think about like the South Dakota pipeline when that was all going down. I wanted to like go up there and like stand with them, because I'm just like, this is not right. What's happening? And they have rights to advocate for their own land. Like, so that was like a big issue. But anything like animals, children, so like just people that can't speak up on behalf of themselves. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I wish I was like. That's what I want to do. But for me to do something like that, then I'd have to pack up all the kids, and then I'd have to pack up their father, because he wouldn't let me go that far without them. Right. So I give you a lot of here's
my cousin. He's the homeless. Okay, so he's commenting because I spent like 12 years in homeless services. So I actually, I'm from where you guys are from, Racine, and I started my career at Safe Haven of Racine, which is like the runaway and abused and homeless shelter. So I ran 2 of their programs for a couple years. So and then that like led into my career and whatnot. So very passionate. I think that's why the youth part comes into place, because I really was passionate about like giving them opportunities and having people speak on behalf and make sure they have a safe place to go. And so yeah, that was something I was very passionate about.
Awesome. That's awesome. Although I don't claim Racine is like where I'm from. I just can't. It's like not in me to do that. I can't. We were at a doctor's appointment just the other day, and the gentleman was like, "Oh, so are you from Racine too?" And I was like, "No, I live here, but I'm not from here. It's just
okay.
My home state is Texas, so I'm a Texan at heart."
Tejano. Okay.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Theo. Dan. My brother-in-law's on. We all call him Theo because it's.
You guys have so many fans on, and I have none. I don't have anybody who is a fan of mine that's on here. But
Get on it.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Melissa always has a lot of fans. Like nobody ever pops on except for maybe my kids from time to time.
Yes,
That's
there's
so
our
funny.
girl. There's our girl, Amara.
Hey, Amara.
Okay, so let's get down to. I'm putting my feet up. Get down to the subject at hand, because it's important to me to talk about.
Yes.
Jeanette's on here.
There we go. No.
Hey, Jeanette, you know me too. I was at your wedding.
I've known them for a very long time. It's been a long time.
Yeah, 20 years, I think. And then Joe's watching you.
Thanks, Joe. That's Melissa's husband. he's such a good sport for us. It's so funny.
Yeah, that's so wonderful.
Yeah, he does a lot for us financially.
He'll run around with Melissa like, what are you guys doing? Like it's really funny to watch. They're a great match. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's great.
Okay. Back to the subject.
So yeah, nitty gritty, right? Because this is like, it's like this subject. So when we talk about like Black Lives Matter, and some people are, like, well, we believe all lives matter, or we believe blue lives matter. Like it just became like this, like
even talking about it earlier. I mean, even before the show started, you and I were starting to like debate on it. Melissa's like, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm
gonna wait for this. I'm gonna wait for this to happen.
Yeah,
then I'll start chiming in.
Okay, so I mean, I have to like be completely frank and upfront when I say like I stand for Black Lives Matter. But if you like, I stand for Black Lives Matter in the sense that I believe that Black lives are endangered. I don't stand for Black Lives Matter in the sense of like Black Panther, like nobody else matters. No, because I've read some of that. I don't know if you've read any of those articles, but some of that I'm like, no, but I do stand for like Black Lives Matter 100%. I can't fully stand for all lives matter because I don't necessarily feel that like all lives are in jeopardy. If all lives were in jeopardy and we had like a fucking zombie outbreak, I'd be like, standing out there like all lives matter, all lives matter. You know what I mean? But I just feel like right now in our day and age and where we are in society, it's more so that African American lives are more in danger, more at stake than
They're more
other
at risk.
other races.
They're more at risk.
Right.
Not lives, but other races. So people need to understand that when you say like Black Lives Matter, you're not saying like nobody's life matters. What you're saying is that this race of African American people are actually at a higher risk or being attacked in some way. So that is what that initially stands for. So when people get offended by that, it's not, I don't think that they're seeing the bigger picture of what's really meant, or maybe they are closed in and they don't notice, or they aren't culturized enough to see that there's actually a problem in America.
I 100% agree with you. The only thing that I do have to say is I think what? Oh, I'm really okay. Sorry.
There was like lint flying, like
oh.
And my light is like lighting it up as you're talking, and I'm like going cross-eyed. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I feel like yes, 100% that in Black Lives Matter, they are more likely to be hurt, pulled over, being a death of violence than any other race. But I do think that people in general, like the police in general, need to have more training, more psychological evaluations. There has to be something to change to make this pandemic, because it's a pandemic in itself. I mean, forget about the virus that we're dealing. This is a pandemic also. Something has to be changed within society itself to make it safe.
Yeah. So I'm gonna chime in because Elaine actually Elaine had said something about I guess I'm gonna just not necessarily use your same words, but paraphrase about that there's a focus on Black Lives Mattering and that it takes away from like all lives mattering, which is kind of implied. So, I'm kind of like, you don't have to say all lives matter because we know that, but there has been like conversations around that when Black people are like Black love, Black empowerment, Black Lives Matter, that it's actually like anti-white. And so I just want to like share that it's not necessarily it's not anti-white. So I think there are some people who are like that, that is what's going to cause a divide racially. Like I'm about, Black lives and whatever. So I wanted to chime into that. And then when in regards to Black people being more at risk and whatnot, I think Big Joe, I think he was like mentioning like, phrasing it better. And a term that people often use now is like the disproportionate violence against Black people, the deaths among Black and brown communities. So like going along that lines of like, there's less Black and brown people here in America, but yet there's overrepresentation when you run data that violence is happening, or, going to jail, prison, being arrested, like having to deal with all that criminal system. So there is that aspect of like how people are like, more Black people are getting targeted or getting beat up whatever you want to say, pulled over, discriminated against within society. So just want to like put that out there. Mm-hmm.
I'm agreement with you. Your bestie, Nina, said police were not meant to deal with mental health crises and issues. We need more crisis intervention and not expect police to do a job that they aren't qualified to do. More mental health, more behavioral and mental health support escalation. I agree.
I have to disagree. I'm sorry. I have to disagree with that, Nina. And I'm not trying to be like the oddball out. I'm so sorry. I'm like, God, I'm going to be like the one person that always like, no, I can't be that person on this live. But
I'm like, I want to hear this. Come on.
I mean, I agree, but I disagree. And let me explain why I'm saying this is because although there definitely needs to be more intervention for mental health issues, right? Like I 100% agree with that. But I do think that when you take that oath to be a police officer, you take that oath knowing that you are going to be put in situations that are going to try your own mental state sometimes. One of my really great friends is a detective, and we have these talks all the time. And you know, when me and her talk, she always tells me, like, you know, it's not necessarily the situation that you walk into, it's how you handle the situation as a public figure, as a police officer, or as a detective, or as a social worker, you know, and not everybody has the means to handle those situations. But if you know, like, you know what, I'm not really good at those situations, there are extra trainings that public figures can take. Now, if you want to, you know what I mean? So,
yes, but and now, don't you think that there should be more training for them, and that there should be more psychological evaluations and psychological help for police officers that are coming into these situations? And Nina says it's okay to disagree. Nina, I 100% agree with you, because Elaine and I disagree often, and we don't take it to heart.
No, I mean, I agree with that. How do you feel about that, Melissa? How do you feel about, you know, more psych evaluations? Because they get psych. I mean, they talk to their freaking kindergarten teachers and shit. So let's hear about that.
Right. So my perspective is like, I'm with Nina as far as like needing the training as far as like mental health, because there's an assumption when you take that oath that you're going to look at this person regardless of race, gender, religious beliefs, whatever. And so when the police officer approaches the situation, there's assumption that they're going to see this person as human, as like, I'm going to act in the best interest of this person I'm dealing with. And so obviously we have seen that doesn't happen. And so I want to say, so you can Google if this is correct or not. You can Google it. But I want to say there's been research done about like what has happened when police have started getting the mental health training and learning how to be that first response in a situation where there's a mental health crisis happening. And I know I've heard that there's been agencies where they actually have designated certain police officers within their agency to be that responder, so that when there are police officers that, like what you were saying, they enter a situation and they're like, I can't handle this, they call on them. And so the ideal is like that they would just make sure that this person would not be a harm to themselves or others. And so the best thing is like keeping distance, and like this person that is supposed to have the mental health training is supposed to come quickly. Now, I don't know the full details of that, but
I do agree. I hear you with that. But even if you don't know how to approach a situation, everybody, first of all, needs to know that cops are only trained to shoot to kill, right? So by the time that they are removing that weapon to shoot, they are only trained to shoot to kill. They're not trained to shoot to injure. They're not trained to shoot to knock your ass down. They're trained to shoot to kill, because at that point, they're supposed to see you as a full physical life threat, right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about like them not being able to handle certain situations, I also feel like a lot of this generation of cops is very much more afraid of physical combat. I don't know if you remember or not, but let me take y'all back to the 90s real quick, okay?
I was a little one, but I want to educate me, school me.
Let me take you back to the 90s. Do you remember when we used to watch like the show Cops back in the day, right?
Yes.
Okay. It was TV.
I was forced to watch it every Monday.
Yeah, it was like our first dose of like reality TV, because that's like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Back then, all you saw was like physical combat. Like cops are trained to take you down. So they used to take people down like no tomorrow. You know what I mean? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now you see a lot less of like that physical combat and more of just that deadly force use. Yeah. I feel like that's a huge issue. And you know, I have these talks with like numerous people, because a lot of people are like, man, it's like they just don't want to engage in like some of those tactics that they've been taught to, because truth be told, they're taught a lot in order to handle certain situations. So the only way I really see them like losing it on a situation is if they are completely being personal with it. If it raises a personal bar.
Yeah, when you were just saying that, I guess I immediately thought like, what is the shift? Because maybe it was just like as there's a saying, or there's like, I wouldn't say a saying, but people are saying with cameras, cell phones and all that, it seems more, but actually this stuff was happening. So if there's the cops, so if the show was just capturing, you know, the police running down and beating on people and then arresting them, which is kind of like what we saw. I'm sure they're not recording like, you know, trying to go behind police officers that are actually like drawing their guns and shooting people. So I don't know if there's like an actual change that happened, or if it's just a matter of like the availability of like videos being recorded. Along with like a lot of things I think that we see when it's recorded is being captured on cell phones, or like, what is that? House cameras or whatnot. Yeah. Well, so you know, there's the issue of the body cams of being off when things start to go down. But
we have two comments I want to bring up. Okay. Jessica Dawkins. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I murdered my own name, so don't please take offense. No matter how much behavioral health interventions is that there's out there, the police are still going to come across with people with mental health issues, and some that are off medication. The police need to be trained to know how to handle these types of issues, and I completely agree. And then, actually, two more just came up. Michelle Ellen LeCount Nedfield. Cops with PTSD, they need assistance, not to have years of experience build up and think that would help. Also, I have to discuss with Missy before they were being monitored every so often to check mental health. Yes, and you're the reason why I think now that they should be, because I had that conversation with her. Mm-hmm. Cops were seeing the 90s, knew that they were being recorded for that show. Social media and live have allowed us to use those cops that aren't being primed to be recorded.
Yes.
Well, I would like for you to then, if you think that, okay, I would like, if you know any cop at all, I want you to ask them if back then there were more cops in the generation previous that would use more physical combat over lethal force.
I'm sure you could run some there. I'm sure there. I would think there's some kind of level of
there
stats
has to
on
be.
that.
And I you know.
She's saying that cops was over exaggerated, like the Jerry Springer. Oh, I 100% agree with that.
I said it was like reality TV. That's what the quotations were for, you guys. That's what the quotations were for. Reality TV, because reality TV was joke too.
I just looked up just now while we were talking. A video they have of over in the UK dealing with a mental health individual, and how the police are trained in our country compared to over in other countries in Europe. And even speaking with my sister-in-law who lives in the Netherlands, they deal completely different. If I talk to my niece who's over there, it's a completely different social culture and way of thinking. A person was holding a knife, so they did pepper spray, they used their batons, they used everything else that they had to before they pulled that gun out. our type of society is you shoot now and ask questions later. That's just the way it is. And that's really sad. And I'm really sad in general that we have to have this conversation, because we shouldn't. We should be able to solve this and stop this violence.
America was built on racism, though, if you think about it. America was built on racism. And if you deny it, then you are just delusional. And I'm sorry to say that.
But the whole world
not you.
Was built
I'm saying I'm talking to people out here in life.
But the whole world was
I'm
built
going to
on
make a lot of people not like me today, and I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry if, like, when I speak the truth of what I know, you eat it up and you spit it out because it tastes like crap. But I just feel like it's the truth. America was built on racism, so a lot of people have a hard time realizing that it's just been there throughout all of these years.
And I feel like, though, the whole world was built. I'm sorry. After this, Melissa, please speak in. I feel like the whole world was built on racism. If you go to any culture, anywhere, even in Europe, they had slaves and they had they called them servants.
Mm.
So that's not an excuse. We need to build past this. And we're not going to build past it until everyone becomes a realization that it's going on.
Yeah. So I have a couple of things. I think worldwide and historically, as far as like built on racism, I think there's a level of like colorism there versus racism, because there's like, light skin, dark skin. And then I think there's also with that history is where people come from, tribes and different, the land it came from. And so indentured servitude was different. And where here in America, they went to Africa and pretty much grabbed people and brought them over here, stripped, indoctrined them to be like, you are property, you will answer to us. This is what you're built for. And this is going to be your name. You're going to get rid of everything that you know about Africa. And you're going to be, I guess, I don't know the right word, but you're going to become, a slave. Like white people are us. White people are your owners. Black people, you are just good for, doing the labor, building our stuff, making, building our country. And so the thing about racism in America is very systematic. It goes across education, the government, it goes across healthcare. Healthcare right now is a big issue when you think about the impact of COVID-19. And so all of that. And so there's a thing called social determinants of health. And so that then impacts, when you think about social determinants of health, is like your environment that you're experiencing, but that's access to employment, access to food. People are living in like food deserts, employment deserts. But all of that is like a representation of the systematic racism that we have to like also address and fix, then to reach like this point of like, we're all one, we're all together. And I think that's a big issue right now, is like, it's so complex. It's digging through who's responsible, who should be leading the effort, on what level. Is the government responsible, or is the local community is responsible? Is the individual person responsible? Like, and so it's all of that. And then one more last thing.
No.
When you think about like policing in America, you have to go back to there's a line when it's like when slaves were first free, and then you have people that were going after them to still capture them and bring them back, right? So then that turned into, well, you can't do that. So you know what? We're gonna have laws now. So when you break a law, we're going to lock you up and we're going to get that labor that way. And so that just then became, which people are talking about, like there's a history there that's ingrained in the policing system that has always seen like Black people as like, these are the bad people.
Do we have a number of how many Black and Hispanic people are locked away in America? Do we have a number?
I don't know the number, but the percentage is like buku crazy. Like it's very disproportionate. Like there are prisons that are like straight all Black and brown people. Like, is it? So, but there, you know, when you think about that, when you go into the prison system, you talk about prisons, not jails, but prisons, there's privatization. And then there's, you know, federal owned or state owned or, you know, public owned, you want to say. But with people that have privatization of the prisons, you get money off of bodies. You don't, that's it. So there's gotta be a way to keep putting people in these beds, because otherwise you're not gonna have the revenue to keep your prison running. So it's all like interconnected.
Yeah, it is. And I think the last time I checked, which was like a couple of years ago, they received like 30-something thousand a year per body. And I think that was in the state of Texas. So it's a crazy amount. Like, it's a crazy amount. And I'm sure it went up in the last couple of years.
So I have the number right here. It's 41.99 million people in 2019. And 76.3 Black or African American alone are in the prison system in the United States. And that's from the U.S. Census Bureau. Quick facts.
And so you think about this crazy when you think about how much a percentage of the population of America we are. Like,
because
really?
You can't tell me can't tell me that.
So when you look at numbers, you have, if you look at all these statistics, you look at all these numbers, right? Point blank period, America's still racist. That's it. You can't get around saying it. Now, I'm not saying, and for everybody listening, I need you guys to really listen to this, okay? Because I just told you that I have a really good friend who is a public figure detective. I have white friends, Black friends, Hispanic friends, Asian friends. Like, I have everything, right? So I'm not by any means racist. It irks me about racism for the fact that I can't imagine not liking somebody just for how they look. I usually, if I don't like somebody, it's because you're just a shitty person on the inside. You know, you just have proved that you're just not a good person. But when you look at all these statistics, this is my point of like really wanting to like really dive in on the show, is to really bring out the fact that if you look at statistics, even if social media has glorified stupid shit because of, you know, phones and cameras and all of that, right? Maybe it's something that needed to be looked at more. Maybe it's a good thing that there's cameras now. Maybe it's a good thing that people record off of their phones now. And now it's starting to be like this major thing where obviously it's starting to be noticed so much that like damn near half the cities in this last year were torn down from angry people. You know, some were with Black Lives Matter, some were, I don't know what the hell Antifa is. It's like some type of weird ass shit. I don't even want to get into that one. But my whole thing is
Scientology. Nobody really knows what it is.
But my whole thing is that obviously the whole reason that all three of us are on here to be in agreement is that there is an issue, and it being Black History Month, like everybody wants to say like, oh, because we threw up a couple posters, or because we sit there and we're like, hey, happy Black History Month. Like, that don't mean shit if you're not doing anything for the whole 11 rest of the months of the year. Okay. Like, it's just, it doesn't mean anything. So, and just because you have, and I have to like correct myself too, just because you have Black friends, just because you have whatever Hispanic friends or Asian friends or whatever, does not necessarily mean that you aren't racist, because you could be one of those people who just plot in the dark. Okay. I just have to put it out there. But before you guys get to say anything, I just want to let everyone know that I just genuinely love people. But I also want to tell y'all just a few like positive things, since it's Black History Month, that I bet a lot of y'all didn't know that you used that African American people actually created. So can I actually?
What's that?
The Nerf gun.
Oh, Nerf gun.
All boy moms love that, and even girl moms, because they have girl Nerf guns too. So in 1949, the air conditioner unit was invented by a African-American individual named Frederick Jones. The almanac, right, was created by an African-American individual, or Black, however you want to take it, okay? 1791. Some people get offended either way, so I mean, I'm just speaking how I speak. If you don't like it, then touche. Auto cutoff switch. Everybody needs a damn auto cutoff switch, and we all use them. So if you're racist, you might not want to ever turn off your car. Um, that was created by a Black individual. Also, his name was Granville Woods in 1839. I'm just going to kind of go down the list and not give all the names, right? So, an auto fishing device. I know there's a lot of fishers out there. Baby buggy, which is like a stroller. Biscuit cutter, blood pressure, plasma bag, right? That saved a few of people's lives there, all right? Chamber commode, clothes dryer, curtain rod support, doorknob, doorstop, egg beater, electric lamp bulb. No idea what the hell that is.
I'll look
elevator,
it up.
huh?
I'll look it up.
Eye protector, fire escape ladder. Tell me that's not awesome. A fire extinguisher, folding bed, folding chair, fountain pen, furniture caster, gas mask, golf tree, guitar. A guitar, you guys. So if you like music, you gotta like Black people. Hairbrush, hand stamp, ice cream scooper, insect destroyer gun, ironing board, keychain, lantern, lawn sprinkler, and like the list goes on. Seriously, lemon squeezer, lock, lubricating cup, lunch pail, mailbox, mop, peanut butter, pencil sharpener, record player arm, rolling pin, and I mean I could just go on and on and on and on and on. So I just would really, really like to not only talk about all the issues that we have, but really just like, you know, tell like everyone, like we really wouldn't even have like some of the lives that we have if some of these inventors were never born.
You know, I'm over here giggling because I just want to shout reparations. When you listen, I'm like, dang, we built this place and we have all these inventions. Like, come on now, we need some stuff back.
Yeah,
Bulb the lamp bulb.
What is this?
It's just like a light bulb for like a car.
Yeah, but does anybody know who they try to say invented the first light bulb? I mean, can we do
Thomas Edison.
Yeah, and that's not true.
Yeah.
Really?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He didn't.
No, it was a Black man.
He invented something that contributed to the light bulb, but
yeah, but actually it was a Black man who created the light bulb, and he didn't get the credit that he should have gotten because in school they say, "Hey, Thomas Edison made the light bulb," and they teach everybody that. There's also some like stuff that hasn't been. I don't know if you know this or not, but I did a lot of research even prior to this because of one of my kids. There's also a lot of research in regards to like a lot of the stories, like Rosa Parks. A lot of people have misinformation when it comes to Rosa Parks of her taking a white person's seat, but that's not necessarily what happened. She broke no laws. She broke no laws. What actually happened is she sat down where she was told to sit down, and the bus got too full of white people. And at that point, they told her that she had to give up her seat, which was considered in the Black section, for this white woman, for her to not stand. And she said no. And by law, that was her section to sit in. So she actually broke no laws. She was taken to jail for no reason. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys know the truth about Rosa Parks. She never broke a law. So for everybody who tries to like back up that story, that's like, oh, well, she broke a law. She can sit where she was supposed to, blah, blah, blah. That's not
no,
not
I
true.
didn't.
So,
That's not the story I had heard, but I mean, I obviously believe that you did your research. Yeah, I just knew that.
I did.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know, like, I didn't think that. I thought it was actually the bus was empty and these Black kids wanted to sit where she was sitting, and she told them her to get up, and she said no, and then she got arrested. So
no, there's actual audio of her speaking to I don't know if she was speaking to like a reporter or whatnot, but there's actual audio of her speaking, so you can Google that and pull it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna add in, since we're like talking about history, you know, everyone pushes Rosa Parks as like the leader of like the change for bus boycotts, when actually she was not the first person.
No, she wasn't.
There was a young lady before her, and so, you know, like I'm not for sure what the organization was, but the young lady ended up getting pregnant. And so they just thought like, you're not like a good face for this movement. And so Rosa Parks had also, and so they went with Rosa Parks. But when they sued for this bus boycott, she was part of the, I think it was like 3 of them that were suing. I can't for sure if it's the state or whoever, but the lawsuit that they won, but she was a part of it, but she was not the face of this movement. And so, you just think like, she could have been, but she ended up, at a young age. So, yeah, and I can't think of her name, but I
feel like we don't in our schools in general have enough education for our Black history. I don't think we have enough history.
I think it depends where you live. When I grew up in Texas, all of your middle school years, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade are all based on culture and Black history. Like when you go to history class, every history class is Black history. For 6th, 7th, and 8th. So it's really nice because I came up here, and when I came up here, I'm like, y'all don't have Black history. Like it was really, really weird for me. But I'm glad that I've been like well educated on some of it because it definitely is something that I stand for.
Yeah, as someone from Racine and being part of like the public school system, I had to take Black history as an elective. So, while you can choose gym class, whatever, music class, choir, whatever, Black history was offered as an elective. And I did that because I was like, I know there's more to Black people than what I learned in American history. Like, it's just we came over on boat, we were chattel slavery, and then the 60s happened, and now we're better. But going to the Black history class, I felt like it was segregated anyways because it was all Black people in this class. Like,
I feel the same way when I was a history major at UWM for a semester, maybe 2. I don't know. I was a lot of majors. So when I took the history major and I did a lot of the Hispanic culture history classes, that's all I saw was other Hispanic people. And I would actually get looked at because I don't look Hispanic. I don't look Mexican. I'm 50-50. Guess what side I took care of? Look more like. I look like my mom. When it comes to skin color, my face, I have my, the Munoz, my dad's side nose. I look a lot, I have the same face shape as his sister. And for a while, I thought I looked like my mom's sister. And I really now think I more represent my dad's side. But because of my light skin color and because I was not, I didn't represent what people thought was a person of Mexican culture. It very much, and I know you and Melissa, you and I had a conversation about this, not looking the part of what people think, so they just don't include you in it. I was not Mexican enough for the Mexicans. I was not, Caucasian enough for the Caucasians. Like, I just
you should have went and hung out with the Black people because they would have accepted you. Because that was the same thing for me. I mean, truth be told, I grew up in Houston, so I wasn't like Latina enough for the Latinas. When I came up here, first of all, I sounded country as ever. Okay, because I grew up in Texas, so I had some like southern twang to me. And when I would talk, I mean, I've lost all of that now, right? Like, I don't even sound like I'm from Texas anymore. But when I would talk, like a lot of people would say stupid shit to me, like, hey, well, why do you talk like you're Black? Or, why don't you know Spanish or whatever? And I had to realize like, truth be told, and I'm just going to keep it 100% real. Mexicans don't jump the border and really stay in Texas. They jump the border and move up here. So I was not like, and then to the Mexicans, like, oh, you ain't Mexican, you're Tejana, right? So it's like, oh, okay. Like, and they literally would even say that at work, even just like a couple of years ago, they would say it at work, like, oh, you're Tejana. And I'm like, well, whatever. Like, I'm Hispanic,
for the first time last year say that to me. And I was so offended because with my great-grandfather and knowing part of his history, we didn't move on the border. The border moved on us. And Melissa, I know that you speaking of, you are Caucasian and you are Black, like you had a hard time because people on both sides really didn't accept you, correct?
I wouldn't say accept, but there was definitely like pointing out that I was mixed, and I have to share that it came from peers and adults. It didn't come from internally from my family, except on my wife's side of my family. It did experience some undertones when I would go around them, and I would always get a sense of like, we're being looked at different, we're being treated different. Now, I do recognize there's maybe some socioeconomic things that are at play there as well, because we were poor, they were more on the, I guess, rich side. But when it came to peers,
and this was your family? This was your family?
Within my own family. But outside of my family is when I learned, like, I would say what the world really like thought of like Black people or mixed people, because you being mixed means that your parents cross lines of races, and that's not good. That's like, you are, I don't, there's a way to say like, you're messing up like the bloodline kind of thing. Like white should be whites and Black should be Blacks. And so there's like a time I was working at a retail store, and this woman did not know I was mixed. My assumption is like, oh, look at my hair, my skin color, like, you gotta assume it. But she was an older white woman, and there was a Black and white couple walking past with their baby in a stroller. And she was like, right next to me, that kid is going to grow up and be so messed up and confused. And I was like, what? I didn't say anything because she's like probably double my age, 3 times my age. But I just stood there and was like, that is what something is said about mixed people. You're growing up confused. Some of us see it as best of both worlds. Some of us see it no. But for me, I experienced the world as like a Black person. I don't know what it is to like feel white. I really don't. There's like a time I went to the hospital, and my mother's white, and my mother, I guess, had put that I was white, and the woman was checking me in, and she looked at me and she's like, oh, this says you're white. You're not white. And I was like, ma'am, actually my mother's white. And she's like, oh, like she got, it's like a moment of like, shit, I just fucked up real quick. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, you just like assume that it was just a full mistake. I can understand. I don't look white. I get it. But it was just that moment of realization, like we go by this check one box, and we're so racially driven in this country of like, when you meet a person and assumptions that come with it. But yes, definitely like peers let me know, that, I'm not,
and I think that's
exactly Black, and I'm definitely not white. So
I think that's part of the problem that we have to start addressing, because if you dealt with that as a kid growing up, and that comes, kids aren't born racist. I showed you my twins. If anyone wants to look at my twins, one is darker than the other.
Let me ask you, Missy, what do you identify with when you check those boxes? Like, Hispanic. So you identify with Hispanic.
Yeah.
Right. So
my mother has instilled in me from such a younger age to check that box, because checking that box as a minority, in one sense, you get more opportunities when it comes to school and when it comes to grants and when it comes to.
I was leading to that. I'm glad you said that.
And the other side, when I check that box, a lot of people assume that I just married a Mexican. now that I'm older. When I was a kid, I even had teachers that I had one specific teacher, and it was a gym teacher that was completely racist and was a jerk to me the whole entire time until he met my mother. And then when he met my mother, he was like, oh.
So you would have to say then that like even you experienced that as a kid being white and Hispanic.
Oh yeah, I have.
Yeah.
So the end result of this show is that there's a lot of racism that needs to be fixed in America.
Yeah. And I just want to share, like, these conversations is what's important to happen, because then you can start breaking down stereotypes. You can start getting at the root of, like, was it just an individual experience, or is this something that's systematic? So yes, these conversations are what needs to happen. And just reminder, like, this is so complex. It's so complex.
And this isn't going to be solved with this one conversation.
Like go back to my comment, like when I moved up here and I wasn't like necessarily accepted from like any group, me growing up in Houston, I was primarily around African American Black people all the time. So when I noticed like, well, dang, a lot of the Mexicans up here are like talking junk, they're saying certain stuff about me. I actually only had a lot of Black friends at that time because I'm like, I never got questioned of why I sounded so damn country because they knew I was from Texas. So they're like, this girl's country as hell. Like she sounds so country, as to where, and then I never got questioned of like, why don't you speak Spanish or whatever. And that there's a real reason why I don't speak Spanish. The reason I don't speak Spanish is because my mom and all of her siblings, they all learned English first and then Spanish because the way they were taught is if you spoke with an accent, you were looked at as lower or less educated. And still to date, people think that. When you have a Mexican lady that comes talk to you, nobody ever assumes that lady got a master's degree. Let's just keep it real. No one ever assumes that unless she walks in looking like a Selma Hayek. But when you see like a Maria and she's over there serving some food or whatever, they don't know that maybe she's been to college or whatever it is. Okay. There's a lot of assumptions and there's a lot of prejudice outside of just being racist that conclude and add into racism.
I 100% agree. And this is not going to get solved by this conversation. But the fact that we have these conversations and I have conversations like this with my children makes the difference. It starts small.
Yes.
Because no revolution started with, the Million Man March. It started small and it built itself up. And it's being supported by different races. And it's being supported by and having friends of all walks of life.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in a middle-class household. I had a lot of friends that didn't. But then I had a lot of friends that, grew up in, I've been into my friends' my houses and I'm like, you live in a fucking mansion. Like, wait, you have more than one bathroom in your house? Like, I mean, still my kids have one bathroom. Jesus Christ, I didn't even move up there. It's having these difficult conversations and it's having the, what we can do as an individual. And, I told you, Melissa, if there wasn't for COVID and I didn't have a child that had an autoimmune disorder, I would have been walking with Black Lives Matter. But because I had my child to think about, I wasn't able to go out there. And I felt horrible. And I felt like I was not supporting something that I wanted to, support that needed to be support. My mom used to tell me I would come home with every stray dog that I found in the neighborhood because I wanted to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that in my kids.
I don't want you to feel like you have to necessarily march with Black Lives Matter to support Black Lives Matter. Like that's a misconception because I didn't go walk with them. I didn't go walk with everybody who was out in Racine or out in Kenosha to go walk with everyone that I knew or that was out there, but I supported in other ways. And that's the key to it, is that you don't have to show your face to support it. Like you literally can support all of that behind the scenes. You don't have to like take that time to go out there. You don't even have to jump and try to save certain individuals, or it's more so on making a stance and making a change for who you are, and always standing on that truth, even when it's hard and it's like stuck to you in the face, and somebody who you might really look up to might be like, well, you stand for that, or and it's that point, like almost like when you believe in Jesus, right? Like, and then someone tries to like counteract that. It's like, what is that next step that you actually do to show where your beliefs are? I feel like that's when you really fight for Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a couple of things. I'm ready. Just real quick.
No. Keep going. Like, we can talk, girl, but like jump in at any point in time.
Okay. Make sure I watch the time. So, Elaine, when you were talking about like the way you speak and talk, and like people assume because you talk a certain way. Yes. And so, and the term that is called, you have to code switch. Code switch is how we have navigated, like getting jobs, getting opportunities, benefits. It's like you have to turn off how you speak around your family and friends, and fix your words, fix your mouth, fix it all, because you have to be able to cater to what the white people want to see, because usually it's white people that are the person in control and power. So, and there's actually a podcast called Code Switch.
Is it?
Yes.
It's a good. You have to go from being like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And hi, this is Elaine. How can I help
you? Definitely. So I know that a lot of people have to do.
You said
that.
The Code Switch?
It's called Code Switch. Just Code Switch. Yeah.
So we used to call it something different, but I'm going to leave that out for this show.
Okay, don't talk about it. Okay. And then Missy had talked about like small organizations. And so that is very true. And that when we talk about like across this nation and how we're going to move this needle on being progressive and like getting away from the disparate healthcare, education, the policing, all that, is that it is a grassroots effort. It actually, it does start small. And so there are a lot of organizations out there that have different ways of approaching this to, like, it's a complex problem. So they have different ways of like working towards to bring up Black people, to bring up brown people within their community, and put them in positions of leadership and power, and getting them the resources so that they can be the best person possible. And then the last thing about supporting, very true about the supporting more than protesting. I actually went through a moment of like, what the fuck are we doing? Okay, we go march, we wear our shirts, and like, what's next? What's next? What's next after we destroy property, whatever, or, make whatever we're doing to make, people pay attention and like, this is really serious. And I was told, like, because I was so frustrated, and they're like, you got to find ways to support that's off the front line. And so they're like, is there a way that you can volunteer with an organization? If you have the ability to, sponsor an effort within an organization, do that. But also like, and, knowing what your skill set is and seeing if you can contribute to an organization as well.
Also supporting Black-owned businesses. Like, let me just tell you guys that I actually watched this research, right? And like, it was showing like how many races, like, that there are that like own businesses, whatever, and how long a dollar stays within that racial bracket, right?
Yes.
And for like Asians, it was like an unbelievable amount. I think it was like, don't quote me on the numbers because the numbers can be off by like 1 to 5, but I'm just giving you like an example, right? Mm-hmm. For Asians, it was like 26 days or something that their dollar stays within their community. And I thought, like, that's crazy as hell. Like, that's forever in a day, right? Like, that's
Mhm.
I
long.
don't even know how to do that.
The next one was actually Caucasian people, and theirs stays for, I think it was like 19 to 20 days, which is a very long time also. And then it went down to like Hispanic, which was, I think, 7 days, right?
Mhm.
And then it went down to the bracket where how long a dollar stays in the African American community. Can you guys guess? I just want you to take a guess.
A day.
A day.
No, it was like so many hours.
Well, I'm surprised because us Mexicans like to shop.
I'm just laughing because I'm like,
shopping? Even if Mexicans like to shop, are you shopping black owned? I made it a point, like, so there was this guy, he made it a point, and the thing used to be on Netflix. He made it a point to try to only support black owned, no matter where he went. And he had such a hard time eating and finding cars and stuff like that because
it's Killer Mike.
Yeah.
Watch it. You guys haven't watched it. Watch it.
You're giving me like lists to do here, Melissa. Lists to do here.
Hey, I got a whole lot.
I felt like it was so sad. So I was like, you know what? I'm only supporting black owned. Like, if I'm going to buy, like, even you guys are going to laugh, but I'm going to show it. I don't even care right now. Okay.
Girl, what you got on?
I'm wearing a waist trainer. And I made sure that the waist trainer that I was wearing was from a black owned business. Okay. Like, my friend actually showed me the waist trainer and she was like, Elaine, she's, you know, there's this black girl. She like makes these things and she's like, you know, and they're formed to fit like, you know, more of a curved figure or whatever. And she was like, you know, go on and get it, Elaine. Like, so I was like, you know what, it's black. And that whole month, like, I was literally just like supporting just black owned. So if I wanted this, I was buying, going to black owned. I was buying, you know, stuff like that. So like, I think
of which I want to put this out there right now, since we're talking about it, supporting black owned. I am starting a series with the show of Let's Talk Life Uncensored on location, where I want to have an interview and have a live interaction with the owner and the employees at the businesses in the greater Milwaukee area. I'm not just saying just Racine, where we're from. I am saying I will go down to, you know, Kenosha or...
You're going to go in the hood in Milwaukee, Melissa?
I'm not afraid of nobody, nothing.
I have a plug. I have a referral.
A what?
I have a plug. I have somebody you can connect with.
Oh, okay.
So is it minority focused?
Yes. Well, I know it's small business focused. Okay. It is not just minority, but it is small business focused.
Still someone you can. So it's the Wisconsin Women's Business Initiative, and it's for Kenosha, Racine, and Milwaukee. And so they focus. The focus is on women in small business. However, they bring on men can participate. And
you know what? Somebody just told me about them.
Yeah.
Monty, that was on last week.
So I would say connect with them, as they definitely like fund. They put money into small businesses so that they can start up, you know, offer trainings, education about like, you know, getting their LLC. Like they do a number of things.
See, I don't have to worry. Big Joe said he'll go with me.
Okay. So I do want to encourage everybody that's watching, if you have a small business, definitely contact Missy. She not only will promote your business, she will also talk with you about your business. She'll stop in. She'll always take free samples, by the way, just leaving it out there.
And we are looking for sponsors. If you are in the position of sponsoring part of our show, which is just covering the cost of the software and things that we use to run this show. We're always looking for sponsors to help us, because right now, currently, this is just coming out of our pocket.
Yes. And just making sure that you contact her. You can hit her up on her Facebook page or even her Life Uncensored page. And then I also want to leave the door open. So Let's Talk kind of targets more of, you know, people telling their testimonies, people talking about stuff that they wouldn't normally talk about, hot seat stuff. Interviewing, and also just, you know, having a good time. Sometimes it's just fun conversation. If you have anything that you want to do with that, also, I don't mind throwing a promotion up there from time to time too. If you are talking to me about an interview and you happen to like have a success story that you made it, and you want to come on the show and have me interview you from, started from the bottom, now you hear type shit, you just hit me up and, I got you for that.
I'm going to tap you. I mean, I'm going to like highlight you.
Okay.
I got testimony. Okay. And then a quick plug for me is that I do have started my small business, and
there you go, Missy.
Yeah, so it's Creations by Mellyanne. I have an Instagram page where you can scroll through and see all the things that I have like tapped into, but this has started as like painting, and so these are all my paintings right here. And
I can pull it up real quick.
So they're not all my paintings, but I have them hanging on my wall. I have other paintings. And so when we think about it ties to this because these all reflect like what's been happening. It's art therapy, but it's an expression. And then also like I will sell. I will sell if you want to buy. But I have like other things that I'm a creative for. So definitely like you guys can look at my page, even if it's just like, browsing and seeing like what kind of things
What's your IG? What's your IG name?
Creations
I'm gonna pull it up.
Oh, okay.
But I can't find it in our text messages.
Oh, but it's
I got it. Never mind. Okay. I got it.
So it's Creations by Mellyanne. And so that's my quick plug on my business.
I'm pulling
That's awesome. That's awesome. Make sure that you guys are going and liking both pages, y'all. Make sure you're liking Life Uncensored and Let's Talk. We are in here in a series together. Make sure you go and definitely go like my IG. It's Lovelee Elaine. It's at the bottom of my thing. And Missy, do you have your IG? What's your Instagram?
I don't know right now.
Oh my God. Come on, girl. You gotta be on top of it.
I'm working on it. Hold on.
You don't know your IG name?
I think it's Mommy Missy _ LU. But I can tell you in a second. So here
and if you need help with a waist trainer that's from like a Black owned business, let me know because the one that I'm rocking is like awesome.
Hold on. I'm finding it right now. You weren't supposed to do that. Okay, so here is her site, right? Correct?
Yes. Yep.
And this is what she is
sending. So I do wreaths, I do gifts. I've done a lot of wreaths.
Ship?
Do I ship? I do. The wreaths can get pricey to ship just because of the size. So I could always do like a smaller version of a wreath. I've done that. So there's like the one that's with the red, that's a poinsettia. Like that would be cheaper to ship. Except bigger. But I do ship. Usually it depends on the size, but usually shipping's like $5 to $15. And that's just like bad. Just depending on the package. So, but this is like all the things I like dabble into: waist beads, bracelets. I make treasure boxes. So it's, you can always challenge me, be like, hey, I saw this on, Pinterest. Can you do it? I like being challenged. So, instead of like, you could support a small Black business by tapping me and be like, hey, can you? And I'm very good. I definitely am detail oriented when I do my work. And so I really like doing quality work. So that's
awesome.
Yes, I'm glad that you brought that up too, because usually we do like to try and we haven't for a couple of shows, but we like to have a small business or something like, an Instagram or something, a business come on and talk about your business. And I will add that in the
like the show notes.
Yeah, not the show notes. So it'll be in the show description.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Well, it was definitely a pleasure, ladies. I know that we're running into time, everyone.
Yes.
We would like to personally thank you for coming on and, speaking your truth and your opinion and how you feel about everything. I'm sorry if I was like the courtroom judge in this. Like I kind of felt like I was
it's been good.
just like support. But yeah, I just want to, tell you thank you. Missy loves having you on too. We definitely appreciate everyone who always watches with us every week.
Yeah, this is really good. I really enjoyed it. It's an opportunity for me to like get over my stage fright. Like,
Sure.
Even though, it's not I don't know how many people are going to watch this, but it's really good. I'm glad to have this opportunity. I'm so glad that my best friend, Nina, thought of me about this because I am very passionate and I do dig into the topic of like actually researching and advocating and challenging people's thoughts on this because I would just speak real quick about Van Jones. Like Van Jones did the whole thing of like going across America and interviewing people that identified as Republican. And that motivated me to like sit back and actually listen to people, not necessarily agree, but listen to them so that you can hear the other side and actually see like, we're just different, but we may get to the same, we still want the same thing in the end, just the path there might be different. But I really appreciated him like doing that and planting that seed within me. And so I guess I'm trying to plant a seed with you guys. Like sometimes you have to sit back and shut up and just let somebody talk. And then, you just go, okay, I appreciate you sharing. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on. But I think us sitting down and shutting up is never going to happen. I think we're always going to be on here talking. I do want to thank everyone that has commented, liked, shared, or followed Life Uncensored or Let's Talk. We are two shows combined into one series that we are going to continue doing for as long as we possibly can, because I really do feel that we are making a difference. But please, please, please like, share, comment, follow Let's Talk and Life Uncensored, because without those ratings, we don't have a show to go to.
Yeah. This is really good.
Yeah. So I'm going to let everybody say goodbye. Bye.
Bye, you guys. This was great. I'm so glad that, I like the comments. Yes. Thank you so much.